Other news now, 3 shootings since Saturday in the area protesters have dubbed the Capitol Hill Organized Protest Zone. The police chief and mayor are now trying to regain control of that area that is getting national attention. King 5 Sebastian Robertson joins us live with the very latest. Sebastian.
Yeah, ever since police abandoned the East Precinct, protesters have been successful in holding ground. But after 3 reports of shooting, the question now is how much longer can this really go on for?
The city will not allow for gun violence to continue in the evenings around Capitol Hill.
This week, the first hint from city officials that the so-called CHOP may be approaching the beginning of the end.
We don't want violence. We don't want people coming in that think they got immunity. We don't want no sexual assault. We don't want nobody raping, hurting, killing, no gunshots.
Rick Hearns has never protested before, but he says he was drawn to Capitol Hill because this movement was different.
What I seen in Seattle, what they got here, this is special.
The 59-year-old is a volunteer on what's called a community response team. His job, security.
People come down there and they push the envelope. I can't tell you how many times I don't use my mace.
Tuesday, an act of violence that many fear will detract from the movement. Police say a man in his 30s was shot, found on the border of the CHOP. That man expected to survive, but a 19-year-old shot Saturday didn't. A third man, a 33-year-old, remains in the hospital in critical condition.
It's time for people to go home.
Late Monday afternoon, a change in tone from Seattle's mayor, condemning the violence as they say the city is considering the next steps.
We don't want none of that. No violence. We need more brown and black bodies down there to help us.
The keystone for all of this may be the East Precinct, a building police have abandoned and one that protesters are surrounding but have not entered. Police now publicly saying their officers plan to return. Well, the question lingering now is when and how will police get back into that precinct? We heard yesterday that they are going to take the steps to get back inside. In Seattle, Sebastian Robertson, King 5 News.
Sebastian, thank you. City leaders, meantime, are taking a closer look at the Seattle Police Department's handling of recent mass demonstrations. King 5's Natalie Swaby live tonight with what was discussed during a public safety meeting today. Natalie.
Yes, during that meeting, the Office of Police Accountability said they have received thousands of complaints in recent weeks and already have 28 pending investigations related to the protest.
Every one of these cases will ultimately go through not just our civilian supervisors, but also for me. I'm the person that issues findings in all these cases.
Andrew Meyerberg, the director of the Office of Police Accountability, says after recent demonstrations, his office has received thousands of emails, phone calls, and contacts from the community.
All in all, 18,000. Again, the vast majority of those were related to the pepper spraying of the young boy.
There have also been complaints about SPD's use of force. Chief Carmen Best said demonstrators violently targeted officers and police did use tear gas. Last week, I asked the chief about that.
Can often be a less lethal way of dispersing a crowd without having to go hands-on, without using just our PR-24s and our riot batons. So it has been determined to be less dangerous to do that. That said, it's been very clear to us that people are not wanting us to use the CS.
A King 5 poll posed this question to 700 Seattle adults. When Seattle police used tear gas against protesters, was this an appropriate display of force or an excessive use of force? The majority said excessive. In a letter today, the chief put the focus on re-envisioning public safety. She writes, across almost 9 years of court-guided reform, SPD developed leading policies on crowd management, de-escalation, and use of force. She goes on to say, it's clear those processes and policies are no longer enough to maintain the trust of the community. SPD says it's committed to working with the community and is considering ideas like adding a community member to the department's command staff, assessing non-criminal 911 calls, current outcomes, and alternate responses, and aligning the department's mission to reflect humanization and not criminalization. And those are just a few of the ideas. SPD says input is needed from police officers and community members. That's going to be part of the process as they work to redefine the department's mission and structure. Live in Seattle, Natalie Swaby, King 5 News.